Welcome back to the National Hurricane Center. This is Ken Graham. We are live here in our operations area with the latest information on Hurricane Dorian. Dennis, we're going to zoom in on this satellite because we wanted to make sure people can see the power of this. Some of the updates that we have, in the last hour we've had the aircraft moving into the eye and moving out here and really getting us the readings, and now 160-mile-an-hour winds, and that means it's a Category 5. So just very powerful storm. And really looking at the location, we're about 35 miles away or so from reaching some of the islands of the Bahamas. So still a very treacherous, very dangerous, life-threatening situation for the Bahamas. And we still forecast this to slow down. I mean, that's one of the factors that we've been talking about for a while. And the latest forecast that we've just updated right here, you can see that slowdown. Okay, a couple things here. When they slow down, we'll often see some expansion of the wind field, so we're going to have to really watch for that as we get through the Bahamas and also the coastline of the southeast U.S. You can see this wind field a little larger than yesterday that we've talked about. So, we're stretching over 100 miles from the center. So if you think about this, you move the center here, draw a similar circle, and that's why we have some of the tropical storm warnings out for the Florida coast. So we're going to be watching real close to see if we got to expand those warnings in the next advisory. So there's our slowdown with time reaching the Bahamas. But here's the big issue here. And if you think about this, I mean, right here's 2 a.m. on Monday. This is 2 a.m. on Tuesday. So if you take the time now plus through Tuesday at 2 a.m., you're talking a major hurricane over the Bahamas for 30 hours plus. And that's major hurricane winds. That's storm surge of 10 and even 20 feet in some of those areas. And then you put the waves on top of that. That's also torrential rainfall. 15 to 20 inches, isolated 30 inches of rainfall. A lot of flat terrain there, very dangerous, life-threatening situation for the Bahamas. So definitely have to be prepared there, listen to those local officials throughout the Bahamas. So what happens next? So we're still expecting, eventually this turn. However, I think we really got to concentrate on this cone, because you still have the cone over portions of Florida, Georgia, even up to South Carolina, the Carolinas with time. So what does that mean? That means the center. That means the center could be anywhere inside this cone 2/3 of the time. And why is that important? We get so many messages, Dennis, about is it offshore, is it onshore? Everybody's asking that, but we have to talk about this for a second, because we really don't want to concentrate just on that line, because depending on the forecast, it can move a little bit. And that means in this cone, you can still see the center along the coast of Florida, even maybe up to Georgia. You can see it even making landfall with time, or it can stay offshore. Those are the solutions we have to be ready for. And as a result, even if, whether it's offshore or onshore, you're still going to have those impacts. We have to be ready for this storm. Very powerful, dangerous storm. We're going to keep updating the track with time. We're watching it, but even if it's just offshore, you're still going to see some of those impacts. You saw that wind field, and you're going to have some of those. So with time, the timing real quick, Dennis, here, this is look how long we're dealing with this. This is 2 a.m. Tuesday, 2 a.m. Wednesday, 2 a.m. Thursday, and right up there at the edge is 2 a.m. on Friday. So the entire week we're going to be talking about this hurricane. So we're going to be updating things as they come in, but one thing we do want to talk about, this is an important factor too. You can see the rain over the Bahamas. I mean, you stall a storm like this and make it real slow as it makes that turn. 15 to 20 plus, even 30 inches of rain in some of those areas, very dangerous. But really it depends on the track. So 6 to 10 inches of rain, and when you look at that, you're like, well, here's the Florida coast, at least it's offshore, but that's not the way to look at this, because this is highly dependent on the actual track. So if the track shifts, you could get some of these higher values that moves. The track moves, so does the core range. So that is an important factor, that if you think you're okay, if we move that track closer to the coastline, you could easily get some of these higher values, 6 to 10, to start moving onshore and inland. So not just coastal, but an inland threat as well. And by the way, not just Florida, but it goes up into the Carolinas and Georgia as well. So that's the latest update. Let's go talk to Lixion. We talked to him yesterday. He's again in the hot seat, issuing the latest update. So that update, and looking at the data from the aircraft, looking at radar, satellite. Lixion, your vast experience doing this job. What are you thinking with this storm?
Well, it's a very impressive hurricane. I mean, and the most important thing is that the wind field is also expanding, and you can see that we have a very clear eye with a large area of tropical storm force winds, and it's moving very slowly, and it's going to slow down even more in this area of the Bahamas. It's going to be very bad for the Bahamas, and then it's too slow between the Bahamas and the peninsula, and that gives time for the atmosphere to change a little bit. So we have to be very careful and monitor this hurricane.
Yep, yeah, that's the experience from Lixion. You know, you stall a storm like that, the atmosphere can change, which means that's why we have the cone, because you can get little changes in that direction of the storm, and that's why there's so much uncertainty in the extended forecast. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good job that you're doing.
Come
And
back.
I definitely will. Let's go talk to Eric as well over here. He's got, you know, really looking at all the data. And Eric, I mean, what are you looking at here? Just explain. We got the NOAA satellites, just some amazing information that we're getting on the storm.
Yeah, there's really incredible information. We're looking at 4 different channels from GO16. We're looking at 30-second data. It's really incredible to see the visible. You can see straight down into the center of the eye. You can look at the infrared. There's just so many different ways you can look at this storm. But everything that we see is showing it getting stronger and larger.
So what is this? When you look at the structure, I mean, how does the satellite help us with the forecast, or at least the current situation with the hurricane?
Well, you know exactly where it is. Your position area is 0. And the deeper the cloud tops, the colder the cloud tops, the stronger the hurricanes get. You can also see that the symmetry of this hurricane is very, very impressive.
Mm-hmm. And on the other screen here, we see the aircraft. It looks like they're headed in, and we visited Warren yesterday over in Karka talking about some of the aircraft data. How does the aircraft help us as well?
Oh, the aircraft provides data we could not do. We really we need it because you can see the drops that are here. You see there's no other data around. The aircraft is absolutely critical, and they're flying their figure 4 patterns. Here was the drop that supported the category 5 intensity. Soon they're coming in the northwest side, and we're going to get more data during the next hour.
Okay, there you have it. Thank you, Eric. Just watching all the data that we can. It's important to help us with the forecast. Here are the takeaways. Very dangerous situation for the Bahamas, life-threatening situation for the Bahamas, and residents in Florida, and also the southeast. We have to be ready. Dennis, you know, this is a situation, there's some uncertainty. You heard it from Lixion. You know, you stall that system and make it slow, things could change. So the cone's still over Florida. Let's be prepared for whatever this storm may bring. This has been Ken Graham here live right here in the operations area at the National Hurricane Center.